Hello and welcome to today's video on the 4 Ds of decline. The 4 Ds of decline are de-industrialisation, depopulation, dereliction and deprivation. So when we're talking about what we're talking about are when key businesses and job sectors such as the Albert Dock and the Tate and Lyle in Liverpool and the steel factories in Sheffield close down, meaning a number of people within the city are left unemployed.
How does deindustrialisation end up leading to depopulation then?
Well, due to the lack of job opportunities caused by deindustrialisation, locals are forced to look elsewhere for work, and the result is that the population decreases. If you look at the slide in front of you, you should see a statistic from Liverpool which shows the population in 1931 compared to the population in 2001. We see in 1931 the population of Liverpool is 855,000, and this was at a time when Liverpool was a very exciting place, had a prosperous port, and the sugar manufacturing business was very successful. However, we see in 2001 the population has almost halved, and this is due to the fact that the Albert Dock closing in 1972 meant a lot of jobs were lost, and so people had to look elsewhere for job opportunities.
Okay, so with all the depopulation, where do people tend to go?
Well, when we look at the UK, we see that there is a north-south drift where people tend to end up in places like London or the southeast because there's a broader range of job opportunities.
So depopulation then surely is going to mean less tax revenue for the town or the city. So for example, if Liverpool lose that number of people, then the city council is going to have a lot less tax. What does that mean?
Well, if a local council or a city council has less tax revenue, then they haven't got the funding because they're paying out all these benefits to the dependent population and they're not receiving any income. And so as a result, there's less opportunity for them to invest in the local community. And so the quality of life decreases massively. This is where dereliction comes into play. Because a large amount of the working population has moved out, the city is left, like I said, with a very dependent population. Remember, these are people 16 and under or 65 and over who aren't working and so aren't inputting anything into the local council. The local council are also forced to ignore concerns and leave sites derelict because they haven't got the funding to pay for them. We see with this more brownfield sites created, and this leads on to the final stage, the stage where no one wants to be. I'm talking, of course, about the deprived stage.
Right, okay, so what do you mean by the deprived stage then?
Well, if a place goes into the deprived stage, we often see that the crime rates increase massively because people start stealing in order to fund themselves, and so, of course, vandalism will be increased. On top of this, we see that there's less opportunities for people in the job sectors, and if you look at the slides in front of you, a poorer education is often prevalent within the city. Now, a place which goes into deprivation is often helped by funding from the government itself, and so rebranding is a way in which a place can go from a deprived stage and help its way back up.
So what happens if, let's say, rebranding didn't take place? What would happen then?
Well, if rebranding didn't take place, there will be like an index of multiple deprivation taking place. And so education levels would be at the floor, funding would be vital, people would be moving away, it just wouldn't be a nice place
Would
to
you
live.
be likely to lose more investment?
Yes, you would. You wouldn't gain the investment because people would not want to invest in your city, and so you would lose out on funding, and as a result, the city is just not a very nice place to live in.
And so, for example, if the Tate and Lyle sugar refinery in Liverpool closed down, which we know it did, it was all the ancillary businesses that used to supply the Tate and Lyle refinery that closed down as well. So does that link into this cycle?
Yes, it does, because it is what kick-started the decline, really. We see that with deindustrialisation, people just want to move away, and so depopulation comes into play. There's less people within a city, and that obviously means that there's less money coming into the local council, so they can't fund like new, I don't know, parks or like new things which will draw people into the city.
Or even support new businesses.
Yes, and so businesses are forced to close down. They just aren't getting the business if people are moving away. So they're forced to move out, and so the quality of life decreases massively. And I think that is the main part, like the factor that you've got to get out. That if a place goes into decline, the quality of life decreases. No one wants to invest there. No one wants to live there. And when it gets to a deprived stage, it is extremely, extremely difficult to get out of it.
Excellent.